The Dan Yorke State of Mind program is brought to you in part by Lookout Rhode Island and Takeo Comfort Solutions.
Welcome into my state of mind. I am Dan Yorke, and education continues to be on the agenda for all of us, and it's important to get perspective from as many sides and components of the puzzle as we possibly can. Last week, we spoke with the American Federation of Teachers Union President Mary Beth Calabro. She runs the Providence Teacher Union. And earlier this week, we spent time with the superintendent of the Providence Schools, Harrison Peters. The largest teacher union in Rhode Island is the National Education Association, and its executive director, Bob Walsh, is, to his credit, always accessible to the broadcast to discuss the issues of the day. And there are so many, from the August 31st start date to just what we've learned and wrapping up the school year and what changes going forward. So with no further ado, my conversation with Bob Walsh. And with no further ado, we bring on the Executive Director of the National Education Association for Rhode Island, Bob Walsh. Bob, you are a man of eloquence and many words. Do you have a short way to explain what it is we've been dealing with lately?
Well, it's Dan, we're the same age. This is unprecedented in our lifetimes. You have to go back a century to the Spanish flu, and then you add the political intrigue on top of it, and it's interesting times we live in, hence doing the show in this format. Yeah. First time for everything.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Listen, the schools are really front and center, and I think the most important decision, past lowering the curve, so to speak, and keeping the curve low with half the country, not behaving and creeping up on us again, is what do we do with education? How do we handle this situation? Before we get to the August 31st start date and all of the challenges that go along with it, give me a little bit of a retroactive perspective on, where we've been since March. I don't need a play-by-play because we've had enough educators here to talk about what the day-to-day stuff has been. But from a 36,000-foot perspective on teachers and on the labor aspect of it, what most speaks to you about what we've been dealing with from the beginning, since March?
Well, since the beginning, we turned this entire operation around on a dime in a week and used a brand new model for teaching to get us successfully through the end of the school year. And I'm not defining success just in academic terms and kids' engagement. I'm talking about using the collective resources of our folks, teachers and education support professionals, to be there for the kids for 3 months at a critical time in the country. The fact that we could educate them on top of that is amazing, but just being there for them was the first line.
Yeah, I thought it was fascinating, to be honest with you, and pretty gutsy on the part of the governor and the commissioner to say, you know what, we're not going to accept keeping the, for lack of a better term, the finger in the dike. We're going to, unlike Massachusetts, they kind of said, all right, let's just hold on. We'll let local districts decide if they want to push the needle a little bit, but let's maintain our status quo. Rhode Island said, all right, look, we're in no position to maintain status quo. We got to keep moving, and it put a lot of pressure on the teachers. Yes.
Thank you for saying that. There was a huge amount of pressure on the teachers. It was take a week off and count it as your April vacation, but please work through that vacation and figure out how to redesign the model of delivering education effectively for the rest of the year. We have never officially put in a plan to do 1 day of distance learning for a snow day, and we suddenly did a 3-month plan and pulled it off.
Yeah. Talk to me about the culture of the teacher union and the coordination with the districts and with the Rhode Island Department of Education. And the reason I asked the question, it was interesting. I had Mary Beth Calabro from the American Federation of Teachers, the Providence Teacher Union president. We talked about this kid-focused, urgency crisis response that really was much more about triage than negotiation. That at least for the crisis period of ending the school year, there was synergy, between management and labor in a way perhaps not seen in recent history. Do you sense the same on the bigger union in the state?
Yes, we are zealous advocates for our members at the bargaining table, but we are not fools. There was a crisis. We stepped up during a crisis. We did not nickel and dime issues or get petty about things, and we left money on the table as a result. And I would suggest in a crisis, we would do exactly the same thing given the same set of circumstances. And that, there were some folks that said, hey, how come? Because it's a crisis. And if you want to finally underscore that it really is about the kids, look at what was accomplished in the last 3 months. And I'm very proud of that.
I bet you are. What money on the table specifically?
Well, we worked for a week for free, basically, as some of my folks occasionally remind me. It wasn't like take April vacation and be on vacation when you can't go anywhere. It was take your April vacation and work and figure this out and redesign everything you thought you were going to do for the rest of the year and figure out how to do it differently. And I'm really proud of our folks on that. If it was a different circumstance, if there was not a crisis and someone said, oh, by the way, we're canceling your vacation, you have to take it then, and then in the time you thought you were going to be on vacation, you can't go anywhere and you've got to work, people would have said that's not fair, and there would have been grievances and unfair labor practices galore. But the greater circumstance in the country overrode those concerns, and that's just the reality of it. You didn't see any of that going on, and by contractual rights, we could have contested all of those things, and it was everybody stepped up, and not just teachers. As you know, we represent education support professionals, and the same thing happened in higher ed, and in some of our private sector higher ed, at Roger Williams University, they actually gave back part of their salary because they lost revenue from tuition, not tuition so much, but from room and board, which helps support the institution. So our folks stepped up.
Okay, I think that's indisputable. When we come back, I want to talk about where we are right now and where we're going to be. The virus is going to dictate a lot of that, but there are some serious things on the calendar and a lot of options that are at play right now. Bob Walsh, the National Education Association Executive Director, continues with me on My State of Mind when we return. Please stay with us. Welcome back to My State of Mind. Bob Walsh is the Executive Director of the National Education Association, meaning the larger teacher union here in the state. The planning for this is a nightmare. I mean, you and I have a little bit of a different perspective, I think, on the governor's approach here. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. The August 31st date has been put out there. I wanted to see a little bit more consensus, actually from you guys too, not just from school committees and superintendents, but to get a little bit more consensus so that there was a little bit more organic commitment to this August 31st date. And there are some deviations out there, some districts that are trying to protect their economies, Narragansett and Block Island, who want to keep working through Labor Day. We'll talk about that. Do you represent them, by the way?
Yeah, we do. We have most of the communities along the shoreline, and I'm sure no one would suggest that we want to put the adult entitlements of some of those local business owners ahead of the educational needs of the students. I like that line because that's what they always throw at us. And it's what you're really talking about. It's the great myth, and this myth has existed since the beginning of time that, oh, well, we can't have the schools open before Labor Day because all the kids will quit their summer job on the weekend working at the pavilions. No, they won't. And if you haven't noticed, unemployment is so high. I am confident that high school students who still want to make an extra couple of dollars on that last long weekend are still going to show up on their Saturday, Sunday, and Monday shift when school's not open anyway.
So here we go. The first good little battle with Bob and me. Look. I'm not carrying their water necessarily. I just think that I think there is a culture, not a culture. There's a climate change when school starts, and so people don't take vacations. Whatever. So I do think that when you're grasping for whatever economy that you can squeeze out of this virus, those businesses they've got a point, and perhaps it'll take care of itself in the sense that this August 31st date, going back to the big picture, is on the books, but clearly tentative from district to district based on COVID logistics. I mean, there are districts that
different issue
that may not be able to fire away based on, virus management stuff. So we may not get all started on the same day anyway, right?
Yeah, different. See, and there was great confusion about that because of the enthusiasm surrounding the announcement. All that was discussed there that you can take to the bank was a common calendar for the first time in Rhode Island history. We'd have a common education calendar so we could plan accordingly. That does not mean that the physical doors open on August 31st and all the kids march in and sit in the classrooms like they did a year ago. It means that's the first day of student school. There might be, for those contracts that have negotiated additional days on top of the 180-day calendar, there might be teachers reporting a day or two before that by local agreement. There might be teachers who are working beyond that by local agreement. And we still have to figure out what happens on those 8 hybrid days of distance learning combined with professional development to nest them against original contracts. But for the first time ever, something I've encouraged since I came into this job, we have a common calendar. So on one of those days set aside for professional development in the middle of the year, if you want to get all the math teachers across South County together, maybe in this format to talk about math, or physically together if we're able to do that, then we have the time set aside to do it. I think that's terrific. But it's a totally different question what's going to happen on August 31st, because as you correctly say, the virus determines that, we don't.
Yeah, but I love your point about, it's funny, I've never been a fan of school starting before Labor Day. I think it's the punctuation on the summer, and I think the more family time and the more of a downtime I think is better. But I've always
then start them all together after it. I'm agnostic on it, other than Labor Day is very late this year. Yeah. And how late in June do you want to go to school? And we have schools that are on air conditioned, so pick your hot days, beginning or the end.
Completely get that, but to ratify or to second your motion, I've never understood how we had all these erratic start dates. So, amongst the things that come out of COVID-19 is some uniformity of school schedules in Little Rhode Island. Why not? It should have been done a long time ago, seems to me, right?
Right. If you just go by population statistics, probably 20 to 25% of teachers are parents of kids currently in the public schools. And if you have a teacher teaching in one district and living in another one, you might have a misaligned schedule right there. So why not do things that make sense when you can do things that make sense?
Well, tell me, other than that, which is a big one, is there anything glaring to you that is changing here that was COVID reactive or COVID planning that you always wish we could have done, or now have realized, geez, we should have been doing?
Well, you're finally gonna hear no more snow days because we can do this format. So the 180-day kids calendar, because teachers work more than that, but the common calendar for kids not only can be the same, but it literally can end on the same day with no more snow days, with the ability to kind of drop into a distance learning mode at will if we need to. And that's terrific. And future opportunities. I think we had one experiment here where we had students from Block Island take a class transmitted out of Westerly way back when, when this technology was fairly new. Now, you want to get the requisite number of kids for an advanced class together across the state. Once this crisis is over, we have the technology in place to do that. So there won't be a kid in the state who can't take physics 2 or chemistry 2, or they might have to go from time to time to get together to do a lab experiment. But fifth year language, why not? We can do it in this format. The kids are already fluent if they've taken 4 years, and get together and learn together with mixed classrooms across the state. I think there's huge opportunity.
Well, with every industry, every industry is been harmed. Most industries have been harmed, but most industries are taking notes on all the changes that are going to occur. When we come back, I want to hear from Bob Walsh from the NEA about what he's concerned about in terms of the school year and just what other logistics we haven't thought about might be in place. Stay with us. Bob Walsh from the NEA. I'm Dan Yorke. One more second. Back to my state of mind. Bob Walsh is the executive director of the National Education Association here in the state. Bob, is there something glaring here for the new school year that really gives you nightmares?
Yeah, because I don't know what's going to happen, and ultimately we want to be a planner. I mean, I can give you the 3 or 4 or 5 different scenarios with degrees of probability, I suppose. Zero probability it's going to look like it looked a year ago. It's not going to be everyone marches in and takes their seat in the normal fashion. And the virus would tell. If it was today, with Rhode Island, one of the 2 states with a big decline, it could be almost as close to that model. But we're probably likely looking at some sort of hybrid model, and everyone's going to have to be patient and flexible, as I keep telling my folks, because we're not really going to be able to call that final audible probably till the middle of August. The superintendents have to get their plans in on July 17th. Department of Ed gets feedback by the 31st. In most of our districts, our folks are involved in the planning of the scenarios, but it's a logistical nightmare. I mean, think about it from, all right, you get on the school bus. You can only have half as many kids on the school bus. Are you a community where you can rely on other transportation, either parents or more walking to get there? When you get there, you got to take their temperature. What are you going to do with a kid if they're running a temp? Where are you going to put them? You can't leave them standing on the front steps. You want to get them in a room. If you're going to have 10 of those kids, are you going to have 10 different rooms, or are you going to put them all in together? So you accidentally expose 9 kids who just have a fever for an unrelated reason to the one who's got it. And then step through the entire logistical school day like that. So this is definitely what keeps us up at night. You're going to have to clean the buses, clean the classrooms, clean the entranceways at a much higher level of, much higher standard of COVID or CDC guidelines.
Yeah.
So, yeah, everything.
Yeah, and when you go through that alliteration, I think to myself, I don't know. I know there are teachers, and I've got they've got them in my family, and I've got them in my social network, and they'll say privately to me, I can't do another year of this. I can't do another year of this. And I say, yeah, you can. Yeah, and you might have to. I can't do that. Well, yeah, you just might have to. This thing could be reversed.
Or it could come back. We could start at some close to normal, and then we could drop back into what we saw before. What I do want, what I hope, is that teachers have a real opportunity to meet their students face to face. Unlike starting in March, where each teacher already had kind of a mental model of their students and knew how to interact with them. It's a very different world trying to start from scratch with children using this format. You want to see them. You want to be able to understand they know you face to face and you know them. It's much easier to drop into this format if you know them, even if it has to be on a rotating basis, an opportunity literally to meet your students. And that's more towards the worst case scenario side of the ledger.
What's in the future for collective bargaining matters, other than the normal list of things that sometimes we have friendly tussles over? I mean, is there something glaring that you've looked at the landscape, maybe not now, but moving out, that you think is going to have to be addressed, or you?
Yeah, and one of it, and you get mad. Well, you don't get mad, but money is definitely one of the things, because we keep falling further behind the other states. A year ago when I was on the show, I gave you the data, and the data is worse this year. I just got it from NEA, and it's always lagging a year. But average teacher salary in Mass is over $82,000. In Rhode Island, it's $67,000. In Connecticut, 76. That's a big gap. The average amount Mass spends on students per student expenditures is $19,300 and change. We're $16,800. That's a huge gap. So and Connecticut's over 20,000. Our competing states are spending so much more money than we do. I'm not saying we're ever going to reach their salary levels, but we have to maintain competitiveness, or we're going to lose the students coming out of school. I have a niece who teaches in Massachusetts. I have another niece who's probably going to teach in Massachusetts. Love to be in Rhode Island, but how do we compete for the new kids coming out of school to fill the ranks? I could tell you how great Rhode Island is, but they say, great, Uncle Bob, we'll live in Rhode Island and commute. So how do you compete with that?
That is that, but that's a systemic thing that you've been articulating for a while. Is that that's not COVID inspired, is it?
No. That's well. It could get worse. On the other end of the scale, I've had more than one conversation of folks who probably would have waited 3 or 4 years to retire. And these are tough conversations. People call me up and say, Bob, you know what? I'll leave some money on the table, but why take a chance? I'm going to go now. I'm going to put in my papers. How do I navigate the system? And that's heartbreaking. And I get it. It might not be because of them. It might be because their spouse is immunocompromised and they don't want to take a chance.
Well,
which means more openings to fill on the other end of the scale.
So speaking of that, that'll be our last thought. Let's not forget, while we're trying to protect kids, we got to protect adults. And there's a lot of people, in our age group that need protection. And I want, we cannot not have teachers and other adult professionals, from custodians on up to administrators, not protected here either. Let's not take our eye off that ball when everyone gets back.
Right. No. And thank you for saying that. That's, it's an easy list for us to judge all plans. Safety first. Safety for our students, their parents, and our members first. And after that, we can figure out keeping everyone employed and securing their employment. But safety first. Has to be safety first.
All right, listen, we'll keep in touch over the course of the summer, I hope, both on radio and TV to get your perspective on this, because you're part of the building block to get this thing lifted off. Always good to speak with you.
You too. And thanks. I'm proud of what our folks have done and proud of what they're going to do.
Bob Walsh.
Thanks, Dan.
I want to thank Bob for his candid conversation with us this evening. We'll be right back to wrap up. I'll have a final thought. Stay with us. Final thought, we're going to change things around a little bit for tomorrow night and talk some sports. Not that sports isn't stressful and that sports isn't COVID and that COVID isn't sports and politics isn't COVID. And yet, I think you get it. But Andy Gresh, weeknight 69 on WPRO, will be our guest for tomorrow night, and we'll talk about what the plan is. And man, there's lots of plans. Thanks for tuning in. Good night.